Morning, Andy. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
How
Oh,
are
it's
you?
not very loud. I'm going to turn you down a tad.
Oh,
Okay.
that's what the wife does.
Have you got a mute button as well?
What, fixed into the side of my head?
Yeah, you
I'm
just turn it
sure.
on and off.
Yeah, I'm sure Sarah would like me to have a mute button. That would probably be good. Yeah, absolutely.
So
And
how's your week been?
it's been really good. Done loads of stuff, and as I say to you, every single week, I cannot believe it's Friday.
Hmm?
In fact, maybe we ought to even start calling this "I can't believe it's Friday."
Friday.
That would probably be better.
You would, because we say it every week, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Anyway, I think we've decided, haven't we, this morning to be talking about the recruitment of team members and how important it is. There seems to be a real trend across the group about difficulties with team members, resistant team members who are not managing the change or handling the change very well, team members that are really showing their true colours because of the stress, the challenges around them, the adversity, and management teams are struggling to deal with that. So, I think you're from an HR background, Andy. I'm from a dental and management background, and we both know how crucial it is to get the right people into the business in the first instance. So when you're hit with a crisis, adversity, as we have been, the team pull together and not apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need a team that's going to pull together, work cohesively, work as a unit, and not fragment. And there's a lot of fragmented teams at the moment. So we really wanted to talk about how you recruit the right people in the first place.
Yeah, because part of the whole process of shifting the culture inside an organisation is very much around the fact that you can only shift the culture if you've got the right building blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And those building blocks are your employees. And I'm doing lots of coaching at the moment with businesses around creating the right environment inside the business to ensure that we embrace the staff that are on the journey with us, and also to say that we need to be more commercial than ever at this moment in time. And if we don't have people on our journey with us, then we need to drop them off at the next bus stop, really, because
we do.
Look, that can sound really cold. It's not at all. It's business at the end of the day. And dental practices at the moment are looking for survival.
Exactly.
So part of that survival has got to be, we need to have the right people inside the organisation doing the right stuff with the right attitude. And so when we get somebody that wants to show us resistance, it's just yet another obstacle that comes along to really act as a block inside the organisation. So my view is that we need to attack it from both ends, really. Now, on Wednesday I did a session on Jump the Hump around actually some fairly meaningful techniques to be able to manage individuals. So anybody that missed that, you might want to go back and watch that. It's in the feed, in the Facebook group feed. And I gave a few working examples of how people can actually manage people on an individual basis, face to face. But backing that up, the starting process for shifting your culture, included in that shift, is actually succession management. So we need to start thinking about, if we do need to manage somebody out of the business, or if somebody does decide to take the leap and to leave our business, do we recruit reactively, or are we proactive around how we actually fulfill the roles and the positions inside the organisation? And something that I always say to businesses is, obviously it depends on the size of you, because a lot of small practices, they won't have much turnover of staff, and that's actually multifaceted, because we don't like going through the mayhem of recruiting people, because it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get good people, Nicki, isn't it? Secondly, we don't really like making tough decisions around managing the team and actually managing somebody out of a role if they're not right. And we sometimes lay on that bed of nails where we just go, oh, do you know what? He or she, oh, they're a nightmare. But trying to get them out, that's even worse. So I'll just run with it. And as I would call it, the bed of nails is not quite uncomfortable enough to get off of. So we lay on this bed of nails, which is having difficult staff members. So when we talk about recruitment, I think we need to have a different angle really on making sure that we've got some proactive steps in having our eye on people that could come into the business. And there's nothing wrong at all in having conversations with people even before you've got any positions inside the business, because you will know people in your circle, and your circle of friends and people will know people that you can have a conversation with your pal. You and I could be chatting. I could be the owner of a practice, and I could say to you, do you know what, Nicki? Keep your eye out for any of your pals, friends, acquaintances, colleagues that might be interested in joining my practice, because I don't have anything at the moment, but actually I'm always interested in good people. Exactly. And you and I have that conversation, and you say to me, well, actually a friend of mine, Sally, she's really blah, 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 and she'd love to join. Oh, okay. And then maybe I have a coffee with Sally. You know, it's all low key, nice and relaxed, and you start to build a network of people around you, so that if you do have somebody leave your practice, straight away you've got at least somebody, maybe 1, 2, maybe even 3 people that you can straight away call up and say, you were interested in having a discussion with me. It looks like I might have an opening. Would you like to put yourself forward for it? And all of a sudden you're leaps and bounds ahead then with recruitment. Because what happens is, particularly with smaller businesses, and I see this all the time, it's always a knee-jerk reaction, Nicki, where they go, somebody's left, now we've got a hole in the team, and it takes them 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 2 months to fill the hole. Does that resonate with you?
Oh, it does, Andy. And I think, you know, it really does. People are very reactive when they're recruiting. And I often get people asking me, what is the biggest recruitment mistake? And I would say the biggest recruitment mistake in dentistry is to recruit on knowledge and skills. That's it. Yep. I think if you are just recruiting a team member on their knowledge and skills, that is less than half the picture. We need to be looking at attitudes, personality, characteristics, traits. We need to have a vision in our mind of that perfect person that we want to walk through the door, shake by the hand, and welcome into our practice, and say, yeah, you're part of our team now. And we know from the off, they've got the right attitudes. They're going to work hard. They're going to be committed. They're going to work collaboratively to help drive the machine forwards. If we're only recruiting on 2 of those elements, I always talk, don't I, Andy, about the cogs in the engine of the machine. You know, the practice is the machine, the cogs in the engine are team members. Now, if one team member starts to grind to a halt because they're being resistant, they can't handle change, they're finding it difficult to move on and do things differently, they start to grind to a halt. They then start to crunch and grind with everybody else around them, all the other cogs, and that vehicle comes to a halt. There's a breakdown internally, isn't there? Yes. And, you know, that analogy can be related to the team time and time again. So we need, you know, we need the cogs all to mesh together. Yet against adversity, those cogs might be moving more slowly as they, you know, as they're facing the challenge together, but there shouldn't be one cog that stops. And I think that's very much what we're seeing at the moment. So when recruiting, yeah, use your questionnaires to, you know, your scoring sheets to score knowledge and skills that you need somebody to have, but also use a personal specification. So it looks at the person, their behaviours, their attitudes, their characteristics, the kind of person that's going to fit into your culture and be that ideal person that you need them to be to help you drive the machine forwards.
Absolutely. And I think it's really interesting because you mentioned their attitude, and for me that's absolutely everything, because you can really work with a good attitude, can't you? And of course you can teach those skills to people, but you can't necessarily teach somebody a good attitude, can you? So locally to where I am, and also to where you are, there's a large fish and chip shop restaurant chain called Papa's. Shout out to Papa's. Do I get some free fish and chips? Get some free fish and chips, please. So, but here's the irony. Papa's do the most amazing customer service training for their waiters, waitresses, front of house. I mean, I'm just blown away by how good they are at training their staff. They are amazing. And I often say to my wife, Sarah, do you know what? I would employ half the people in here at a heartbeat, because they're so upbeat, they're great, they work incredibly hard as well. I watch them buzzing around like busy bees, and they're so fantastic. So I'd say to people, when you are out and about and you experience a good level of service, and if that individual's local to you, just clock it, because actually that's a great way of coming across. If you've experienced somebody's service, and if you think to yourself, how wonderful would it be if that person was front of house in my dental practice and they showed the same interest, the same care, the same passion, the same exuberance, the same enthusiasm for my patients when they walk through the door? Great, absolutely brilliant. Because you're right, actually that whole thing around attitude is absolutely key, because we can teach the skills that we need. And I think also when people are interviewing, I don't know what people's interview style is, but you will have done lots, and I've certainly done lots of interviewing. And I think just try and keep it low key, keep it relaxed, allow that person's personality to come out. And as you say, you know, have a scoring card around what it is that you're looking for, specifically made and created for the idiosyncrasies of the individual that you're really looking to join your team. And make sure that you stick to that, because of course, when you see maybe 10, 15, 20 people, how are you going to remember who you liked and who you didn't like? So make sure you write plenty of notes down.
Exactly.
And then off the back of that, there is another flip side to it as well. From the HR perspective and ensuring that you're being compliant, of course, we know, don't we, that our risk of being accused of discrimination can come in at the interview stage if you don't give somebody a particular role. So you're going to need that scoring card potentially, maybe to lean on if somebody wants to challenge you around why you didn't give them that particular role. So it's really important, not just from a skills basis, but also from a compliance perspective as well. You need that scoring card, you need to make notes, you need to make sure that everybody fills in an application form as well. Interestingly enough, when you talk about application forms, an application form, sorry, I beg your pardon. Sorry, I just changed what I'm going to say. I'm on the wrong track here. CVs, when you talk about CVs of people, CV is not a legal document. The application form is. Yes. So make sure that everybody fills in the application form. And what you may want to do, sometimes it can be quite handy, depending on the length of the application form, is get them to fill in an application form remotely. So you send it out to them either digitally or through the post or whatever. Get them to send it in before you actually do your interview. And then when they come back in to be interviewed, give them a pen and a paper and a new application form and just get them to fill it in again. That's an interesting one.
Ooh,
because
Andy.
Because what that does is really interesting. It can weed out some of the porcupines that people tell you because they forget what they've put down.
That's so of course, really interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit sneaky, but we have to be sneaky sometimes in business, don't we? Yeah. So it's about being commercial at the end of the day. But what it does do is it's a great way then to be able to you're sat with the application form that they've sent in, which they had loads of time to do, and now you're asking them questions related to what's in there. So if there's anything looks out of kilter, you can ask them about the dates that they were at a particular college or wherever they were. And it shows that you're on it. It shows that you're absolutely nailing down the process and that you're being professional around it. But again, you don't do it in a confrontational style. Keep it nice and relaxed over a coffee and allow people to relax and show you what they're about. And actually, if somebody does make a mistake, Nicki, it's really interesting to see how they then recover from that, because they're in a pressurized situation and you're there interviewing them, and that's going to give you a direct view into how they would deal with a problem in the workplace, a problem with another colleague, a problem with a disgruntled patient or whatever. So yeah, good point to that.
Yes, I would also, two other tips here. Talking about the personal specification, you might have that as a separate document from your interview scoring sheet. But again, I often get the question, is that not discriminatory? You know, if you're looking at people's characteristics, it's not. If you've got that vision, that framework in front of you of who you're looking for, and you score that systematically for every person that you're interviewing, it's not discriminatory, because you can then justify the thought processes. And you look at big corporate businesses, they do that time and time again. And actually they do all this online personality assessment, don't they? They do huge amounts of stuff in and around people's behaviors, characteristics, their attitudes. So you know, you can legitimately do that if you do it in a systematically scored way. The other thing that I would recommend as well is, if you're lucky enough to have an array of applicants and you've narrowed it down to 2 or 3, get them to come and work in the practice. Get them in your business for a day or 2. They might have to take a holiday from their current job, but pay them to come and do it, because you will then see how they interact with the rest of the team, what their attitudes are like when you're asking them to do something. Are they taking direction? How are they being received by the rest of the team? Watch how they integrate, watch how they communicate. It's a very valuable part of the whole recruitment process. And often, so many times I see dental practices just doing an interview based on knowledge and skills, scoring those in a bit of a tick box exercise fashion, and then going, all right, who was the best out of the lot? Calling them and offering them a job. They barely know them. They've not seen them in action. And you know, I always, again, use this analogy. If you get the wrong person in your business, you are throwing a grenade into the mix. Boom. You know, it can be the start of a real downward spiral within the team, people being demotivated, that's the word I'm looking for, you know, and just demoralizing to have the wrong person in the mix that everybody has to deal with day in, day out, because they're setting the mood for the day.
Absolutely. And so that brings us right the way around to the start again, Nicki. So the thing is, and those people that set the mood for the day, you usually find that if you have resistant staff and the mood for the day is resistant, it then spreads through the core of the team like a fungus. Yeah, and so having that vision around who you're going to recruit, who you're going to bring into the business, and how you're going to then manage the team through, it kind of completes the circle, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
So Nicki, yeah. I'm out of tea. I've been on tea today.
Yeah, me too again. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good little chat.
Great little chat, Andy. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. And catch up next week.
Take care, Nicki. All the best.
Have a lovely weekend, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.